Well, good morning and happy Pentecost. Today is Pentecost, a Christian holiday. Uh, but Crowley had uh, something to say. Pentecost is quite a wild thing. Anyway, I just thought I would start off by showing you this beautiful arrangement that Constance made. And if the light was a little better, the sun was shining in just a little while ago, and you could see the color there of that flower, that stand of, it looked like little foxgloves there, I think. And it's almost the same color as that lampshade in the back. It's just so beautiful. I thought I'd give you a more close-up look at that. That's how it sets up in the. Anyway, here I am, and welcome. Anyway, Pentecost is you've probably heard a lot about a very conservative Christian uh, uh, sect, I guess you would call it, that has turned into that has been hijacked and turned into a Christian nationalist sort of unhappy thing. Uh, but when my mother was a teenage girl, my mother was born in 1913. There was a wave of revival, of Christian revival, sort of an ecstatic kind of phenomenon that was sweeping the country and the world. It was very popular in England too, and earlier in the late 1800s, it was very popular in England. As a matter of fact, the Darbyites, the Plymouth Brethren, that Crowley's parents belonged to, were that kind of sect. Uh, they weren't quite the Pentecostal foaming at the mouth, talking in tongues and things like that, but they were the ones that came up with the concept of literally the end of the world, childlike belief, uh, uh, belief in the unerrancy or inerrancy of the scripture. Uh, the idea that Jesus is going to come back and there's going to be an end of the world and the apocalypse type thing. People think that's a very ancient Christian thing because the book that's the source of that is really old. But as a Christian thing, it's only a couple hundred years old. And it's when they say, "Give me the old time religion," that's not the old time religion. The old time religion is uh, something else altogether. But but anyway, my mother was caught up with Amy Semple McPherson's Foursquare Gospel movement. And Amy was just marvelous. She was hot, okay? Uh, and when their gospel troupe came into the little town in Paxton, where my mother was living in Nebraska, uh, they hired local choir to support the revival, and my mother sang in the choir, and they invited her to join the group because my mother had just lovely soprano voice. And she didn't do it, and she always kind of regretted it. But she was locked into that childlike belief. And the true Pentecostal movement, as we think of it, uh, is a very emotional. It's a very emotional thing. It's kind of similar to how the Shakers would sing and dance themselves into an ecstatic state, which is a very common kind of religious uh, fervor. Okay, you literally break into another level of consciousness. You can't really explain it, so you ascribe it to whatever belief system that you're in, whether that be the voodoo or conservative Christian or Catholic or whatever. But it's just like the Sufis that are spinning themselves around. You spin yourself into heightened uh, consciousness. And but the word Pentecostal uh, was ascribed to this phenomena uh, because of the event that's chronicled in Acts 2, where 49 days, okay, it's called Pentecost because going on 50, I guess, 49 days after the crucifixion, of course, in the story anyway, uh, the disciples have gotten together. They've been more or less kind of freaked out ever since the crucifixion, and they all gathered together in Jerusalem, and a mighty wind blew into uh, through the neighborhood, and it was very loud, and it freaked everybody out. Everybody in the neighborhood, not just the disciples and other followers of Jesus. Uh, and then all of a sudden, everybody got really stoned, and they said the Holy Spirit descended on them as tongues of flame. Now, in Kabbalah, the tongues of flame usually are attributed to the Hebrew letter that looks like the tongues of flames, Sheen, and Sheen is by Kabbalistic tradition associated with the Spirit of God, and hermetically the quintessential element of spirit too, but that's something else. Or not. Uh, and you often see it depicted in iconography of the flames on the top of their heads. But what happened while they were under this influence was very interesting, and it probably might give us pause to think what they were really talking about. And Constance always keeps pointing this out, that in Acts they say they spoke in tongues. Okay, they spoke a language that some people could understand and some people couldn't. And there were neighbors that were supposedly hanging around, neighbors there, and they heard all of these sort of people that they considered Galilean bumpkins, in there speaking their own language. I mean, it was a very cosmopolitan town, so people spoke all sorts of different languages and dialects, and each one of them could understand what the Galileans were saying in their own language, and that blew their mind. They said, "God, where these guys learn all these languages?" The point is, and in the Pentecostal service, people break into wild And other people who were just as whipped themselves up into that stone condition, saying, "Oh, he's saying the Lord has come upon him, and he said, vote for Reagan." Okay, or they would translate it. Okay, the word translation is the key. Translate. In Enochian magic, which is based heavily on sevens and multiples of sevens, like 49, there is a holy table that sits in the midst of your operating area. And that holy table is where heaven meets earth. It's where heaven meets earth. And the shoe stone, what you scry into, is set upon, well, the sigillum Deometh, and it's surrounded by talismans and things like that. But you receive your message through the shoe stone. The angels speak to you through the shoe stone, which is on the sigillum, which is placed on the holy table where heaven meets earth. And it's very, in a way, you're calling down, or you want to be there when the Spirit descends upon heaven and earth. Now you can say, well, how did it affect the whole neighborhood and stuff? Look, we can't validate or truly comment on the validity of the story itself. The story has become the message, whether it happened like that or not. So anyway, there's something with this 49. I'm gonna digress away from that story, because Pentecost is 49 days. Okay, there's something magical about this great traumatic event, and then 49 days later, seven times seven. Now there just happens to be, in Enochian magic, 49 calls. Now, some of you will, and those calls in the angelic tongue open up the entire spectrum of aethers, of heavens. Now you may say, no, there's only 48. You got your 4 for the, okay. But the first one, the angels told Dee and Kelly, was unexpressed. So it's 48 plus the unexpressed first call. Now, personally, my theory is the first call is the call of the table of Nalvage, which preceded, just like the day before they said, and here's the 48 calls. And when they said, you mean we can't do this without the first call? And they said, well, sorry, you've just wasted 3 years of scrying because it don't work without it. And Dee said, you can't do that. You can't do that. And then Nalvage changed the subject. He says, here, I want you to make another little table. But that's another story. Back in 1982, I was, let's see here, I was doing this is my diary from 1982. I decided I was at my uh, place in my AA relationship with Phyllis, uh, where I had uh, passed my neophyte, my probationer neophyte thing, and I was uh, working on my next step up, and my life circumstances were such that I had the opportunity and the space to actually do something more heroic than I had ever done before. Uh, and let me see if I can actually tell you what I said here. Let's see. Talk amongst yourselves. So it was in April, and I had 49 days ahead of me. So I called it a magical operation, Metamorphosis Quara Neuf, 49. And that's my PDA, was my Pureté de l'aspiration was my magical motto in those days. And so it was a 49-day thing. My will drives me to change. I feel my old shells dying. Change is coming. I am a worm just before I become a butterfly. For this change, I must retire, but my holy duties prevent this. And I was doing lodge work and masses and things like that. I must take my holy magical retirement in the midst of activity. I will establish a livable schedule of discipline and adhere strictly to them for a specified period. I will continue all activities, but I will in some way set myself apart from my mundane life in some way, if only symbolic. And Phyllis commented on the other page on my spelling. Here's the prologue. For 49 days and 49 nights, I will practice the art of dying. For 49 days and 49 nights, I swear to keep on trying. I pledge my pen, I pledge my tongue, I pledge the truth in telling. I'll slay all things I thought were I, but please ignore the spelling. That's the poem I kicked it off with. Okay. And the very next thing Phyllis does when she read that diary, she corrected my spelling. Her notes are over here. Anyway, so that's what I did. I set up, I might have a picture of it here. I had a rose croix altar top, heavy wooden thing that was carved and brightly colored, and it looked just like that. Only it had the four green barbs, rose barbs, sticking out of the quarters. But you see, that's 49 levels. There's 7 levels of 7 petals. And I put maybe, yeah. I set that on the Enochian Holy, or the Tablet of Union, and all of the elemental tablets. Okay, and I set that rose cross thing on top of that. And then I set a goblet, a chalice, a holy grail, right in the center of it. And for every day of my 49-day thing, I moved a beautiful little polished bloodstone, one step at a time. Next day, next day, next day. And I set out a program that of like yoga and meditation and things like that. And I would pranayama, and I would turn up the juice every week. So if my pranayama was, I was to do 4 rounds of something, the next week I'd do 6 rounds, and I'd keep doing things. And I was fasting throughout the whole thing because I always wanted to lose weight. There's me doing pranayama. Okay. And let's see here. And each week I would start off with something from Crowley's Aha. And let's see. So the first week, see the thing in square there, and there's an angel there. There are 7 keys to the great gate, being 8 in 1 and 1 in 8. First, let the body of thee be still, bound by the cerements of will. Corpse rigid, thou mayest abort the fidget babes that tease the thought. Okay, and so that first week, I concentrated on stilling my body, asana, okay, yoga. And there's my pranayama schedule. Okay, and altar top, a 49-petal rose coif from our chapter. I've placed a flat bloodstone representing me on the outer most petal. I shall move it each day. Okay, until finally at the end, I put the bloodstone in the chalice. Okay. I'm going to just close by reading how the next week I took the next verse of Crowley's poem. Next, let the breath rhythm be low, easy, regular, and slow, so that thy being may be in tune with the great sea's Pacific swoon. That's when I turned up the juice on the pranayama. And let's see. And there's all of those. I was doing Yi Ching things too. Third, let thy life be pure and calm, swayed softly as a windless palm. And here I was doing some Enochian stuff. Fourth, let the will to live be bound to the one love of the profound. And there's okay. And let's see. And then I started to do some artwork here. I love this little drawing of me. It says, I think I've mastered how to draw hands. And look at those hands. Okay, and there I am in a circle, and I've got a double cubed altar set up, 2, and all of that stuff is set up upon that double cubed altar. You sort of see the chalice there, and there is my Pentecostal dove that I'm attempting to lure into my cup. Anyway, Yes, dear?
I just thought of something.
Yes?
I'm not gonna, I'm just gonna show you and see if you think. Mass.
Yes. Constance is pointing out that
Higher.
at,
Lon can't do it. It's supposed to be over his crown chakra, top of his head.
okay, like that. At Mass during the during the collects, everybody's on their knees doing the Pentecostal. Come on, come on, come on.
That tongue of flame on your head.
Yeah, that's a tongue of flame on our head, right? And here is something I was concentrating on. In working on some things in Bina there. Okay, that's that. One more thing. Our dear friend and Crowley scholar extraordinaire, Richard Kaczynski, has just released from, I think, the good folks at Inner Traditions. This is the slipcase. It's so cool. The Sword of Song by Aleister Crowley. Now, Sword of Songs are just a collection of lots of early young Crowley poems and things like that. Called by the Christians the Book of the Beast. And this is the sort of the original artwork of the first edition. And here's the book itself. Okay, just absolutely gorgeous, with footnotes and very scholarly, very scholarly. I'm going to read. He's got one lengthy poem called Pentecost, and I'm just going to read one little verse of it. I find some folks think me, for one, so great a fool that I disclaim, indeed, Jehovah's hate for shame, that man should today not be weaned of worshipping so foul a fiend in the presence of the living sun. And yet replace him, oiled and clean by the Egyptian pantheon, the same thing by another name. Thus, when of late Egyptian gods evoked as ecstatic periods in verse of mine, you thought I praised or worshipped them. You think I worship? I stand amazed. I merely wish to chant in verse some aspects of the universe. Summed up these subtle forces finely, and sang of them, I think divinely, in name and form. A fault, perhaps. Reviewers are such funny chaps. I think that ordinary folk, though, understood the things I spoke. For gods, and devils too, I find, are merely modes of my own mind. The poet needs enthusiasm. Verse making is a sort of spasm. Degeneration of the mind and things of that unpleasant kind. So to the laws all bards obey I bend, and seek in my own way by false things to expound the real. God, what a line. And so to the laws all bend, obey I bend, and seek in my own way by false things to expound the real. But never think I shall appeal to gods. What folly can compare with such stupidity as prayer? Anyway, that's our Sunday school Pentecostal message for today. And I hope, and they're having a Pentecost service next door at the church. They're actually doing something on a Sunday at the church, and they've got an organ set out in front of the church under the shade of a tree, grassy, with chairs set out. I'm tempted to go over if I didn't think I'd be bored to death, but it's very, very cozy. It's very, very pleasant, and it's a beautiful day for it. So anyway, that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow for the Order of Monday morning. Until then, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.